Kingdom Insight, Episode 7. Staying consistent when you don't feel like it. Welcome to Kingdom Insight with Dr. L.K. Leonard, raising saints back to God through clarity, structure, and spiritual authority. In Episode 1, we talked about why leaders drift. In Episode 2, we discussed restoring alignment. In Episode 3, we talked about protecting ministry culture. And in Episode 4, we talked about guarding leadership disciplines. And in Episode 5, we discussed leading without losing yourself. And just in Episode 6, we talked about when leadership gets heavy. But today we want to talk about something that every leader faces: the battle to stay consistent. The battle to stay consistent. Because there will be days when you don't feel motivated. There will be moments when you don't feel inspired. There will be seasons where leadership feels routine, heavy, or even draining. And if leadership is built on how you feel, it will not last. Let me say that again. If leadership is built on how you feel, it will not last. There are times when you don't feel like doing what you're doing. And if your leadership is built on basically how you feel, it won't last. Today, we're talking about staying consistent when you don't feel like it. You have to stay consistent even when you really don't feel like it. The first thing is consistency is greater than motivation. Galatians 6 and 9 says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good." In other words, in the King James, it said, "Let us not grow weary in well doing." So we must realize that we have to keep going. Motivation is only temporary. It comes and it goes. Some days you feel strong. You feel like running on and see what the end gonna be like. And some days you just don't feel like it. You wake up, you just don't feel like it. You don't feel like going on. But consistency is what produces results over time. Leaders who rely on motivation will be inconsistent. If you're looking for motivation when you don't feel motivated, you won't be consistent to continue to do the things that you do. Leaders who build discipline will remain steady. So you have to learn how to have discipline in the midst of this, and that's what builds your consistency. You will not always feel like leading, but you are still called to lead. Sunday morning was one of those times I didn't feel like leading. I didn't feel like a pastor. I didn't feel like going on. But I was called to do, and I was called to lead. So I had to press on. So my consistency was greater than my motivation, my call to keep going, even when I didn't feel like it. To know that I'm called, know who called me, and why I am doing what I am doing. So my consistency is greater than my motivation. The second thing is faithfulness builds strength over time. Luke 16 and 10, "He who is faithful in little." See, faithfulness is not flashy, but it's powerful. Being faithful is not for the flesh. It's not, but it's powerful. It is showing up when it's routine, showing up when it's quiet, showing up when nobody is applauding. Over time, faithfulness builds strength. You have to keep going when nobody's there. If it's one there, you show up. If none is there, you show up. It's quiet. They're not applauding you. You're not telling you that you're doing a good job. Nobody's there to pat you on the back. Nobody's there to help you. You don't have the team that you want. You have to be faithful. But over time, faithfulness will build strength. Consistency in small things produce strength for greater responsibility. Listen to that. You need to hear that. Somebody needs to hear that. Consistency in small things produce strength for greater responsibility. If you can be faithful in the small, God will get and give you more responsibility, because he realized that you are faithful even when it don't look like what you think it ought to look like, even when it don't feel good, even when nobody is around, even if you can go out and preach out to the trees and just go preach and outside and nobody's around. If you can preach when nobody's listening, then that's faithfulness, because you're being faithful to your call. It's not about who is supporting your vision and who ain't supporting your vision, but it's about you being faithful. So you have to be faithful. You have to be consistent. The third thing is your feelings cannot lead you. Your feelings cannot lead you. I can't say that enough. Your feelings cannot lead you. Jeremiah 17:9 says, the heart is deceitful. Your heart will trick you. Eve's heart got her in trouble from hearing what Satan. She said, "Oh yeah, it feels that it seems desirable. It looks desirable." Her feelings, what she felt, Satan deceived her, made her feel like she was less than. I heard the preacher say, less than, made her feel like she wasn't equal to God. She wasn't getting everything she's supposed. Made her feel. So your feelings cannot lead you. Feelings are real, but they are not reliable. You can't rely on your feelings. Sometimes you will conjure up feelings off of something that's not even happening. Sometimes we look at things and get in our feelings, and it's not even really what's happening. If leaders follow feelings, they will fluctuate. They will be inconsistent. They will lose direction. You wonder why you are bewildered and you don't know which way to go. It's because you're letting your feelings lead you. Leadership requires stability. If your feelings lead you, your leadership will always be unstable. If your feelings lead you, then your leadership will always be unstable, because you're on a roller coaster. Your feelings are roller coasters, up and down, on one day, off one day. You can't you can't go by feelings. You have to stay consistent. You got to be consistent on your calling. You got to stay you got to know who called you and why you called and what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing, because your feelings are unstable. Fourth, commitment sustains you when emotion fade. 1 Corinthians 15:58 says, be steadfast and immovable. See, commitment is what carries you when motivation disappears, when nobody's motivating you, when nobody's cheering you on. Commitment. I'm committed to what I do. I'm committed to my call. I'm committed. And that when everything else and when the motivation disappears, I'm still committed. It is the decision. I will remain steady. I will remain focused. I will remain faithful. That's what commitment is. Commitment is what keeps you moving when your emotion wants you to stop. I'm committed. I got to keep going. This is what God has called me to do. I can't give up. I can't throw in the towel. I'm committed. I can't go off of the emotions. I can't go off the motivation. It's all has disappeared because I'm committed. That's what keeps me moving. When my emotion wants me to stop. There are times when my emotions have called me to stop, and I had to keep going because I'm committed to the call. I can't give up. I can't give up on my journey now. I've come too far from where I started from, because I made a commitment. The old saints would say, I made a vow to the Lord, and I can't take it back. You will not always feel motivated. You will not always feel strong. You will not always feel inspired. But consistency is what builds strong leadership. Show up anyway. Lead anyway. Stay faithful anyway. Because leaders who remain consistent build something that lasts. This is Kingdom Insight, leadership, clarity, and structure.